I guess now it's time. Ah! I guess now it's time to do John Doyle. John Doyle went to a Black Lives Matter protest recently. This is 21 minutes long. I don't think we're gonna watch the whole thing. Let's just see what he does, shall we? At the very least, here's the thing. When Caitlin Bennett of Liberty Hangout goes out and makes a jackass of herself, she tends to leave it in. I think John Doyle has the semblance of knowing when to cut things out. So I think he'll probably make himself look good here. I mean, good. It won't look good. He'll still look like an ass to us. But I don't think he'll outright embarrass himself. I hope I'm wrong, though.
You small dick!
Do you want to try it with a better... You want to try it with a better megaphone?
Freaking Out 99, the only thing I think is cool, the only thing I think about cool is John Doyle is about the M1 Garand on his wall. I assume that's the gun. I probably pronounced it wrong because I'm a liberal cuck who doesn't know gun names. MMO addicted with 5 bits. Hannah, what was that scream? Are you trying to attract Baja, the mating cry of Hannah?
Your megaphone is much smaller though.
I don't really want to talk to you guys.
Okay.
Who are you? Who you with?
We're gonna do. Let's do like fast money. Okay. Timothy McVeigh, is he a terrorist?
Yeah, he was the bomber who blew up the federal building in the late 90s.
What was that? The Oklahoma City bombing? Is he a terrorist?
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
I'm not gonna comment on him.
Okay. Ted Kaczynski, is he a terrorist?
You initiated the mating call?
I'm not gonna comment on
The 9/11 hijacker.
I'm not gonna comment on any of them personally.
Love you too.
That bitch ass got fucking shin splints in his damn feet that a doctor he paid for, and he didn't fucking run, so he can kiss my ass too.
All right. So we're out here at the Donald J. Trump for President peaceful protest. Very epic.
Bro!
We've got this megaphone here. This megaphone is 1,200 watts.
Oh god, he's unironically gonna do the compensating for something thing.
The strategy when purchasing this megaphone was literally just Amazon.com megaphone sort high to low. So we passed by, there were some people protesting, they were calling people fascists, etc. And they had this like
I mean, maybe don't be a fascist then, John. That would help.
teeny tiny handheld megaphone. You might notice that it's actually impossible to hold this like a pistol. You actually have to satchel it. You have to go Indiana Jones with this boy.
Check out how big my megaphone is. I bought it with my Subway paycheck.
Because it projects. This dude takes 8C batteries. I don't know what the approach is. The approach can either be the traditional John Doyle, where we take the MAGA hat off and we're cordial and we ask questions, or we can go 2016 energy Owen Schroyer, walk in there with the fake MAGA hat on, because I forgot my real one, with the megaphone that like drowns theirs out. I mean, the Don could probably hear this. Donald Trump is epic. Let's go. That's loud.
MMO addicted with 5 bits. I doubt it. I think his mama bought it for his birthday. Her big boy has a big toy.
The raw masculine energy of the officers, just like taking their threats as nothing more than just like banter, is just like so powerful.
What threats? They're protesting. What are you talking about, John?
That's an interesting physiognomy.
Yeah, the dude's dancing.
Friend, where did you get those dance moves?
This is what democracy looks like, Dancing with the Stars.
Are you dancing for Biden?
He's having fun, John.
I don't with Biden, I'm a socialist.
Oh, so it's like a strategy.
This is what democracy looks like.
Are you voting for Biden as like an accelerationist strategy? Or just because you don't like Trump? That's what democracy looks like.
Could I ask you a question?
The funny thing is that John Doyle, I think, is trying to focus on this guy because he thinks the guy looks like twinkish, and he thinks he looks like what the right would call a soy boy. But the funny thing is, he looks almost exactly like John Doyle, just with a different haircut. And I don't care. I'm not saying I don't like the soy boy bullshit. I think that's stupid and childish, but like, John, if your goal is to be like, this guy looks like a wimp, John, you look almost exactly the same. You just have a different haircut.
Yeah.
Do you believe Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you believe in the movement
Oh no, he's gonna do the All Lives Matter.
too?
the movement Black Lives Matter. Certain parts of it, yeah. Yeah.
Emmo addicted with 5 bits. Please, he's way cuter than Doyle. Doyle's shit character kills any potential attraction. I'm only talking about the way they look.
What-
That John really tipped his hand when he was scoping that kid out. He said, that's an interesting physiognomy. Do you
Yeah.
know what that is?
Physiognomy? No, let me know.
It's phrenology.
Oh, it's phrenology? Oh my god, John.
It's the idea that you can judge someone's character
Oh, yeah,
by their features.
He outright, in a
Notice-
previous video I covered, he was like, guys, I believe in physiognomy. Check this out. And he showed like a picture of someone he disagreed with. So he's gone full mask off on that before.
Yeah, I don't think that you caught that.
I didn't. Thank you. Oro the villain with 5 bits. The same people who will call people soy boys will sell brain pills with soy in them. Yeah.
What are some parts of the movement that, like, I guess you'd want to see if I agree with it that I don't?
No, I don't bootlick police or Nazis, man. I'm sorry.
Do you think I'm a Nazi?
I mean, this guy doesn't know, but you're definitely like fascist, John. If you want to ask someone who knows anything about you, yeah, you're pretty fascist. I think you're probably a white supremacist, but you won't say, but, you know.
I don't think you're a Nazi, but you know, the boot doesn't look back. You lick it, you lick a Nazi's boot, cop's boot, it's not gonna lick you back, but
I hate in any, by the way, I hate in any, whenever anyone, whether it be John Doyle, or whether, like, someone like me who's on the left goes to a Trump rally and puts a mic in the face of people and then edits it down to just the absolute idiots or the people who don't know what they're talking about, or the people who just parrot, like, talking points without thinking about them, because most people are stupid. So it just feels like a big circle jerk, whether John's doing it again or the Daily Show did this a lot. And I get that it can be funny, but, like, yeah, guys, we know most people are idiots. You don't need to make a supercut of all the idiots in a particular place for me to know that.
Do you think the police are Nazi?
The kid is drunk. He sounds a little drunk.
Hey, would you want to talk to me?
Yeah, sure.
How are you?
I'm good. So I was just asking him what he was out here doing, and then he said that I might be a bootlicker or something, so he just didn't want to talk to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I know why I'm out here, and it's to protest Donald Trump and all of his supporters.
Are you in favor of Biden or just against Trump?
Oh, I am in favor of anybody. Literally, a piece of shit could run for office, and I would vote for that piece of shit before the other piece of shit that's already there.
Which is Donald Trump?
Yes. Why do you, like, have a smirk, John? Do you think it's funny that other people legitimately view your presidential candidate as a piece of shit? Like, do you not see how that's an issue and makes you look bad?
Which is Donald Trump. Donald J. Trump, a.k.a. piece of shit.
What don't you like about him specifically?
Oh, let me start. Well, there's the affiliation with him and Ghislaine Maxwell saying that she's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't like Bill Clinton either. Why do you think showing pictures of Bill Clinton somehow undoes what she's saying about Donald Trump? The same thing applies to him, right? What a weird gotcha. Yeah, Donald Trump might be friends with a known child trafficker, but so does Bill Clinton. Yeah, fuck 'em. Fuck 'em both, John. One doesn't undo the other, you get that, right?
Then you have our separation shit that's going on down at the border with the Child Separation Act, okay? Then you have the farmers, all the farmers that they were promised all this to them, and what happens to the farmers? Oh, they're gonna get checks to shut them the up.
Saying that farmer support for Trump remains strong doesn't mean that he's doing good things for farmers. It just means people who are farmers are also right-wing.
So they don't say nothing? Yeah. Okay, then he pisses on our fucking troops. We got men and women dying for our fucking rights.
Yeah, John, remember the time, and you're gonna pop up something snarky here in a second, and I'll address that when it comes up. But Donald Trump saying that he thinks, like, POWs are losers. Trump banning trans people from the military, which I know you probably find hilarious because you don't like trans people. I get it. I don't really care, though. We have him, like, denying the fact that, like, Russia was putting bounties on U.S. soldiers for Al-Qaeda to kill. You know, just all sorts of stuff. So maybe actually rebut these points instead of trying to be snarky and putting things on the screen. These Caitlyn Bennett style videos always make me cringe so hard. Oh, I agree. We're not watching this whole thing. It's always so like, oh god. Anything that's man on the street is bad because most people are stupid.
For everything that man's supposed to fucking be, and he shits on him, and he says that they ain't nothing but losers and cowards. But guess what? That bitch ass got fucking shin splints in his damn feet that a doctor he paid for, and he didn't fucking run, so he can kiss my ass too.
You could have gave a speech like that. It would have been epic.
Don't you love when the right does the thing where they think that people being mad somehow undercuts their argument? Like, if you make bad points and you're calm, for one thing, incredibly disingenuous, because you didn't even actually talk to her about it. You just let her say stuff, and then you put stuff on the screen. Very disingenuous. Outside of that, though, too, oh, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, making bad points while being calm is not inherently better than talking about real issues while being mad. You understand that?
You could have, like, yelled, too. That would have been cool.
So, you know,
Brazos
Trump is bad for
Hopper,
humanity.
Thank you for following.
Right? If you look at his mismanagement of COVID-19, oh, are we 6 feet? I'm not sure. All right, but if you look at his mismanagement of a litany of different issues, he's put.
Towing24, is John going back to this guy because he wants to bang him like Nick Fuentes and the Catboy?
A great amount of human lives at risk.
What rhetoric don't you like about immigrants, for example? You mentioned that.
So he called them like rapists and drug dealers.
Oh, here comes John, who's gonna try and, probably not by actually saying it, because he's a bitch who apparently doesn't want to have an actual conversation with anyone. He just wants to try and, oh, let me do an epic pwn in post. No, but seriously, he's gonna probably misrepresent what Trump said about, like, immigrants, and they're not sending us our best. They're sending their murderers and the rapists, which, again, John, regardless of what you say here, implies that the majority of illegal immigrants are murderers and rapists, which isn't the case. There's a lower instances of crimes amongst undocumented immigrants than there is amongst the general population. Dudes spanking dudes. It's the right. The rights have a big boner for the military, but then seem to not mind the president called soldiers losers. Yeah, they don't care. Because they don't care. People on the right don't have actual positions and moral truisms that they hold to. They just have a side, and they're going to argue no matter what works for them in the moment to be right. Not to be correct, but to win, regardless of if they're right or not. It's annoying.
He associated them with that, and I just didn't like the way he was speaking with them.
That's the announcement speech that he gave from, I think, Trump Tower it was.
Just all of his speeches, he's called people animals before.
The MS-13 gang members?
Yes, but they're human beings, no human, in my eyes at least.
I agree. You shouldn't call people animals. I get it. Even if someone's, like, awful. Like, let's do something awful. Let's say, oh, what's the guy that killed a bunch of people, or he didn't, but he had a cult that killed him? Charles Manson. Let's say that's not even a good example, because I think you gotta pick a specific person from a specific group that you've already demonized. Let's say, for example, you're Donald Trump, and you've had a lot of things on the record talking about how you don't like Mexico, how you claim that most immigrants coming in are murderers and rapists, and then you go along and you get questioned about a specific gang and you call them like, oh, they're animals. It's obviously that the rhetoric that you've said in the past about people of a specific racial group is going to come back to bite you, even if in a vacuum your statement against a specific group who might be a gang or whatever, even if they're terrible, that statement's going to echo back with the previous things you've said. Like, the context in which statements are said matter. And I also think, rhetorically speaking, if you're a politician, even if there's an awful group, even if we're talking about someone like Al-Qaeda or ISIS, calling them and calling your enemies animals, I think is a pretty bad position either way. Like, that is not how you want to talk about people that you're, like, fighting. It's just not. The dehumanization of the enemy is the first step to doing terrible things yourself to that person. Not good. MMO addicted. All humans are human, even those we don't agree with. The world is a way better place if everyone remembers that. Yeah. That XY girl with 15 bits. Well, our governor just lifted COVID restrictions, but of course the state capitol remains closed. Well, good luck with that. Sashimaru with 250 bits. Gonna go watch The Boys, Hannah, but I'll leave a generous donation of bits before I go. Have fun watching John Doyle look like a fool. Thank you.
And I hope everybody's no human being is an animal.
Are you familiar with the types of things that they do, though? Like, as a gang? Like, have you ever heard of a...
Like, if they, like, cut people's heads off? I already said, like, if they do terrible, disgusting things. I agree. That's disgusting. I don't think your enemies should be referred to as animals if you're trying to be the reasonable person in the situation. I'm not saying don't stop those people. You should if they're doing terrible things to others. But again, dehumanizing your enemy is the first step to going and doing terrible things yourself in the name of stopping them.
Colombian necktie, for example?
Yeah, they cut, like, here or something, and they pull out, gosh, what do they pull out? I don't remember. Is it the tongue? Do they pull out the tongue through the neck hole? I don't remember.
Or they'll cut your throat.
I also think calling people animals sort of undercuts the evil involved on top of that. Because animals do things on instinct, right? Animals do things because they're hungry or because they're scared. Someone who's in, like, a drug cartel and sends a message to someone by mutilating their body, like, that's not the actions of an animal. That's the actions of a profoundly evil person.
Open and take your tongue and rip it down. That's something that an animal would do, in my opinion. Like, not to reduce their humanity, however, you know, when you're behaving in that way, I think that...
But when you call people animals, even if somebody were, let's say, an MS-13, you're setting a precedent for how we treat people. I wouldn't even call... I have feelings about Trump, but really I don't blame his supporters.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them deplorables like Hillary did. I would not call them animals either. So I really wish that the right and the center right could understand that nobody is an animal. Everybody is.
This guy's real bad. Again, the reason I don't like man on the street shit. You get people who aren't used to speaking, and I'm not saying I'm great at it. I do this for a living, though, and I have for quite a while. So, like, if I were to sit down with John Doyle and talk to him, while it wouldn't be a productive conversation, I think we would both be able to have a conversation somewhat intelligently, although it wouldn't be in good faith. That's for fucking sure. But nonetheless, we could actually sit down and have our points, and I think my points would be organized, and so would his, although I would very much disagree with what he had to say. But, like, when you go and talk to people who aren't used to, how do I put this, externalizing their positions, because people can have relatively well thought out positions based on things they've read, based on articles and news stories they've read. But if they've never been asked before, and most people aren't in day-to-day life because people don't talk about politics, especially in an adversarial way in real life most of the time, people don't know how to coherently put the things that they believe into an argument that's succinct and understandable for others. That's a skill that you get over time. I think 99% of people, even if we're talking about people who are very well informed, if you go and you talk to them like this about their political positions, they're going to fumble over their words and they're not going to be able to structure their arguments in a way that makes them look very good. Again, it's a skill. But yeah, you'll wind up with stuff like this. It's just embarrassing all around. A Colston of 20 bits. You think this is bad? Even while being dunked, John's getting BTFO'd.
As a human being. I don't care if you're an MS-13. You are a human being.
So for like treating people well, do you think it's more important that we don't call the people who like murder people and rape women and then like gouge out their genitals to like preserve their feelings by not calling them an animal? So it's not.
It's not about preserving their feelings, John. It's about a general attitude towards people, even if you disagree with them. Like, if you start calling everyone you disagree with and everyone, even people who are awful, if you start calling them animals, your entire position towards them is going to change. Like, even in war, we have rules of engagement. There's reasons we can't use, like, chemical weapons, and we can't do certain things to enemy soldiers, right? But the minute you start stopping to view those people as human beings and start to view them as animals or whatever, it's going to make you excuse all sorts of behavior and do terrible things, because you think that doing it in a consequentialist worldview where you're like, well, I might be doing evil things, but I'm doing it to stop even eviler people. Like, it's a slippery slope. It's rough. You don't want to do that.
Not set that precedent.
Which is what this kid should be saying, but I don't think he articulates what he means very well.
Important to call them out, but not to call them an animal. You can.
What would you call them in your like ideal?
I don't need to call them anything. I just want to call them human.
You could call them evil. Again, this is why you shouldn't ask people randomly who don't usually articulate their opinions things on the spot, because they're bad at doing it. You can call them evil. You could even theoretically call them monstrous, because that's sort of a descriptor and monsters aren't a real thing and we all understand. But calling a human being animals, even when they're evil individuals, as objectively evil as you can get, like, not a good call. Even like the worst human beings ever to exist, Nazis, I wouldn't call animals. I'd call them evil. And there is a difference, right?
Beings, because that's what they are. Human beings that maybe are involved in criminal activity. I don't see you as less of a human being because you're involved in criminal activity.
We're not talking about like, petty theft though. We're talking about like going into cities and
that. What I'm saying is a lot of people make mistakes.
Well, I don't know if that song is going to get copyrighted.
When I went and I described the way that they were like raping women and gouging their genitals out, your reaction to that was less extreme than the reaction to the prospect of Trump calling them animals. Why do you think that is?
So here's the thing. I am concerned as about that. It's an international.
I got to get past the music. I don't want to get DMCA'd because of a background song.
So, are like three of his worst policies if you had to just pick?
I mean, 200,000 people. So we're 4 to 5% of the population globally. 200,000 people, nearly 200,000 people have died.
Okay, I can rattle off some stuff right now because this guy apparently doesn't have a succinct opinion on why he doesn't like Trump. I would argue that, yes, his coronavirus response has been very bad. He was initially calling it like a Democratic hoax, and he really downplayed the significance of the virus. We know this because he was caught on tape saying it. I say caught. It was in an interview that he knew he was having, but nonetheless on tape he said he downplayed it. And people on the right are going to say, oh, he didn't want people to panic, which is ridiculous because of course he does, because consistently he's done things like, oh, Antifa is going to come for your homes and these people are going to blah, blah, blah. You get it. He doesn't care about scaring people. He only cared about trying to make himself look better in an election year. Another policy. Let's see. Right now he's in the process of picking a new Supreme Court justice, despite the fact that the Republicans in a previous election year claimed that because it was an election year, we shouldn't pick a Supreme Court justice and instead should allow people to vote on the next president and able to do so. So they basically stole a Supreme Court seat by doing that, and now that the court ball is in the other court, they want to do the opposite. And their justification for this as well, we have the Senate, which is literally just saying, well, we're in charge, so we're going to do what we want. Incredibly hypocritical. Let's see, removing trans people from the military. I'm not a big fan of the military. I'm fine with veterans, of course, but the actual military apparatus of the United States, I'm not a big fan of. It's not something I would join, but the fact that there were plenty of people serving their country, if you want to frame it in such a way, which a lot of people on the right do, have been kicked out of the military specifically because they're trans, I find that ridiculous, especially considering the military spends more money on boner pills than they do trans healthcare. What else? Let's see. We have the kids in cages thing. Again, it's been talked about how this happened under Obama. First of all, I have plenty of things that I disagree with Obama, this being one of them, but it also happened at a much lower rate under Obama. It's gotten much, much worse. And also we have allegations of things like, non-consensual hysterectomies, stuff like that. What else? His entire position on illegal immigrants and treating them not like human beings. Again, when he came down those escalators at Trump Tower and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna run for president," and he claimed that, "Oh, the people who are coming over the border, they're not sending their best. They're sending rapists and murderers," implying that the vast majority, or even a small majority, or even a reliably large amount of illegal immigrants are somehow criminals, outside of course, coming into the country illegally. Yeah, that's ridiculous. What else? I think Trump's tax policies that were passed in the first couple years, bad. I think him trying to undo Obamacare, bad. I think, what else has happened recently? Sorry, there's just a deluge of bad news almost daily for the past 4 years, so it's kind of hard to, get a hold. I already talked about COVID. What else? I don't like the fact that in situations like Black Lives Matter that's going on now, he will, instead of addressing the issue and actually saying, hey, we should do police reform, and that might be a good way to get the protests to stop. Protests that allow cover for certain people to perform bad activities like rioting. Instead, he just demonizes Black Lives Matter. Charlottesville, he said there were good people on both sides. Oh boy, it goes on and on and on, this is again why you should, have people who know how to articulate their opinions interviewed instead of stupid man on the street stuff. Ends up looking very bad for everyone involved. Cashel Gladio, thank you for following. Oro the Villain, thank you for hosting.
From COVID-19, which is about 20 to 25% of the
Arenas
global
3,
deaths.
thank you for
To me,
subbing 5-month string. Thank you for having a community that makes me feel I can be myself. Trans rights, y'all. Cool cloak. Thank you.
that is a scale where you can compare him to other world leaders, to other people in his class, if you will. And it shows how poor he is as a leader, right?
I did see something. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on it. I read somewhere that hospitals actually had a financial incentive.
No, this is untrue. This is a right-wing conspiracy theory that, doesn't pan out whatsoever. If you want to talk about financial incentive in American healthcare, I agree with you that it's bad and we should do universal healthcare, but don't use this to try and say that there's some conspiracy where people are being overdiagnosed with COVID for money. They're not. Do you think every doctor in the hospital who's making these decisions personally benefits from this? You don't get commission on what you do as a doctor, John, you moron. It's not I have friends who are doctors. Randy lives in Wisconsin, is a doctor, doesn't go, I will secretly tell this person that, they have coronavirus. And we know this isn't the case also on top of that because statistically, I don't know if you know this, John, but you can look at deaths for every time of the year by year, and try and look at how much higher or lower it is year after year. And oh boy, if coronavirus isn't killing 200,000 people, then we better investigate because there's 200,000 extra deaths this year that have happened for some other non-coronavirus related reason. It's a ridiculous position to be COVID isn't real. Dude, I get you want to suck Trump real hard, and that's your business. But to deny the reality that people have died due to his negligence, which was blatant considering he was calling it a Democratic hoax, is absurd, and it makes you look ridiculous.
To inflate their COVID death counts by conflating the actual cause of people's deaths so they would get more money from the government. Do you think there's any truth to that, or that might be symptomatic of Trump and his leadership?
No, because that didn't happen. And again, this is why you don't have people on the street answer questions, John.
Chipper.
Yeah, I would challenge that. I think that
yeah, comorbidity. Comorbidity is a big thing. Plenty of diseases don't kill you in and of itself. It's often when other things interact with what you already have going on. For instance, if you have asthma and you have COVID, you're probably going to be worse off and have a higher chance of dying. That doesn't mean it was solely the asthma's fault that you died. It means that the asthma, which was presumably already under control, was exacerbated by having COVID, and then you died of COVID.
I think that there are...
Like, it's the same reason that, like, this is an extreme example, but you can get AIDS, right? You get HIV as a virus, and then it turns into AIDS, which is a syndrome. It's an immuno disease, and it compromises your immune system. So what happens is you might catch some other thing, like pneumonia or whatever, and that might kill you. Technically, AIDS didn't kill you in the sense that, like, there's this thing that's AIDS, and it ended your life. What happened was you had complications from AIDS, and that results in, like, having your immune system compromised, and therefore other things are easier to kill you. The things come together, right? This is not a complicated thing to understand.
Are people who probably had symptoms of COVID prior to March that we may not know about. I'm telling you, and that's what
terrorists. So I feel like we should shut up.
The music again.
A terrorist. It's a political
Guys, stop
game.
playing music in the background so I
There's
can
like
make fun of John
international,
Doyle.
domestic. One group and federal forces. I do feel that.
Do you want to try it with a better? You want to try it with a better megaphone? Your megaphone is much smaller though.
I got a big megaphone. That means I got a big pee-pee. It's my one joke. I'm John Doyle.
Okay. Do you want to talk to us? You seem like you're a warmer person. I don't know why. You just seem more inviting.
Did Julian ask you guys politely to leave?
No, he actually talked to us for like 10 minutes.
I'm just saying that because I'm the oldest one here.
Look, you're laughing. You're so nice. So, do you mind if I ask what you're out here doing? I mean, it's obvious, but you know, I have to.
Campaigning for Joe Biden.
For Joe Biden?
Yes.
Is it for Joe Biden or against Donald Trump, or is it kind of both?
Both.
I mean, she's older. She might legitimately like Joe Biden. Older people have a higher chance of that.
More for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
See, honey, at my age, I knew Trump. I knew about Trump.
You probably knew Biden too, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. Voted for senator when he was running for senator.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm 74, almost 75.
So for someone like Joe Biden, who's been in public office for so long, I just wonder, like, what new things he can bring to the table to sort of change the paradigm in this country.
First of all, John, you understand that the presidency is more than just the individual in the office. It's also the cabinet that they bring to the table. Secondly, John, being a senator is different than being the president. You're being obtuse, and you know that. Stop trying to be tricky. Come on, bro.
What do you think?
I figure anything before Trump is an improvement. So anything that Trump has done for 4 years, anything that we can go again is bound to be an improvement.
What are your biggest problems with Donald Trump?
Well, let's see. He's a liar.
That's true. He has lied a lot.
That's the big thing. He's a liar.
So do you think that...
But I do think, like, and this is what I don't get. I feel like if people ask me questions like this, I think I can not only support what I am saying, but I can support it by citing specific examples, right? But even I don't go out and, like, protest to these things. Because I just don't think it's worth my time. Like, why do I want to go to a Trump rally and protest? I'm not going to change anyone's mind. It's just going to be a waste of my time. So I don't understand why people who are less able to articulate their frustrations with President Trump, I don't understand why they're going out to be the face of opposition. It's so weird.
Joe Biden is like an honest politician, or is he just kind of the lesser of two evils in your opinion?
No, he's not just an honest politician. He's an honest man.
If we're talking in relation to Trump, I guess, but that would be most people. I think Donald Trump is like a narcissist who compulsively lies. But, like, all politicians, especially career politicians, have definitely lied. So I'm assuming John's going to point to some example of Joe Biden lying, which wouldn't surprise me.
See, that's the difference. You gotta look at the men first, or women.
Yeah.
But you gotta look at the person first.
Focus! Don't you have a cameraman who knows how to focus, John, or do you have a tripod?
Yeah.
You gotta look at their morals, their scruples, and Donald Trump has none of any of those.
Do you remember back when he ran for president in 1988, Joe Biden, and his campaign actually imploded because he was caught plagiarizing a speech from a British politician, and so he had to step down. And then,
Hey, John, remember that time Melania Trump plagiarized a speech from the previous First Lady, Michelle Obama? That was fun.
and he didn't get the nominee. So is that like something?
Wasn't it nice back in the day when, like, a politician could be caught doing something like that and it would destroy their political chances, at least in that election? But nowadays, Trump can literally get caught on camera admitting to sexual assault, and everyone's like, oh, it's fine. It's just exhausting.
Something that you would take issue with, or do you remember hearing about that story?
I don't think that would have been... And again, in the same sense that, like, even though I brought up the Melania Trump thing, I don't necessarily blame Melania Trump for that. I blame the speechwriter. People like Donald Trump and Melania and people at that level, and including Joe Biden, don't write their own speeches most of the time. They might have input in their speeches, especially if it's a big, important speech. They'll take a look over it, but they're literally speechwriters. Like, you guys know Bueller, that guy, Ben Stein? He was a presidential speechwriter. Like, there are people who make entire careers about writing speeches for politicians. And whoever wrote the speech for Joe Biden plagiarized. Joe Biden just read it, and I agree that his campaign should have had more due diligence on looking out for something like that, but so should have Melania Trump and her people. It's something that unfortunately happens because some people are shitty.
Or do you think, does that affect the way that you perceive him? Or what about the cases that he's
he wrote
had, the
speeches for
allegations that have been
Nixon.
made against him for sexual assault? Do you think that those are as credible as Donald Trump?
No, because Donald Trump's, these cases are waiting for him to leave office, okay?
So, make America white again. Is that a quote?
A quote followed by most people that support Trump, I believe.
Again, I hate people who go to these things who can't articulate what they mean. Like, if you have a sign that says that, you can be like, I think it's emblematic of the sentiment that's pushed forward by Trump's administration and his followers, even if they don't outwardly say this. Like, that's all you have to say. Use your big boy words. My God.
You know, they want...
Yeah, and he did cut off while she was answering, which to me says she probably had an intelligent answer that actually made him look like a jackass, but he edited it out. Fun.
more of the white supremacists to go around, and obviously I'm not one for it, so.
Do you think that they know that, or are they just sort of falling for it?
They just sort of follow for it.
Okay.
They kind of believe with it.
It would depend upon the person. John, I think you understand the idea behind many of Trump's policies and words certainly advocates for people like you who seem to like the position that they have that is helped by the fact that they are white. I don't think you're necessarily entirely a white supremacist. More so, I think you are a fascist. And I think you think that if white supremacism can help you reach your fascist goals, that those people could be useful as tools. You know what I'm saying? John, I don't know enough about you to know if you're really, really racist. I think you're awful and you're a fascist, but maybe you just find racism to be a helpful tool. I really don't know. But it doesn't change the fact that the same is true of Donald Trump. And when he says things like after Charlottesville that, oh, you know, there are lots of people on both sides, and he refuses to denounce these people, like, he also courts the kind of people that do want to make America white again, or whatever sentiment this person has on this poster. Why do people go to these events if they can't talk? My God. None of this is hard to discuss like an adult.
What are some of the things that he says that you think kind of get people to kind of go along with that? Other than, of course, make America white again.
Well, it's like for the white part, it's usually great, but
Oh my God. You can talk about the Charlottesville thing, which we've already talked about. You can talk about the constant rhetoric against people of Latin American descent coming to the States. He disguises it, as many Republicans do, as talking about, oh, we don't want illegal immigration, but legal immigration is fine. Meanwhile, they also shore up and close avenues of making legal immigration available to people. Of course, this results in fewer people who are non-white coming into the country. You can also talk about how, like, Make America Great Again is a little bit of a dog whistle. Is there direct, like, one-to-one that I can be like, this specifically means this? No, but usually conservatives have this sort of attitude of, like, make America great again. Well, when was America great again? A lot of them will have the, like, Leave It to Beaver image of, like, oh, it's a family that's a nuclear family with 2 kids and a dog, and it's perfect. Again, this completely misses the point that in the 50s, first of all, Leave It to Beaver's not real. I literally had a discussion with my dad about this once, years ago, and I still talk to him. He's like a pretty right-wing dude. And I was like, when do you think we should go back to, like, in terms of, like, policy and culture and stuff? And he was like, you know, the 50s. And I'm like, you mean, like, Leave It to Beaver? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, for one thing, my dad was born in the late 60s, so he wasn't even alive during then. I'm like, you know Leave It to Beaver was a TV show, right? It wasn't really like that. And he's like, yes, it was. It's like an attachment to this fantasy without understanding the socioeconomic realities of the period that they're imagining was perfect. Like, hey, in Leave It to Beaver, when the what the heck are they called? The Cleavers? The Cleaver family's having a great time. Downtown, there's a black family that can't put food on the table because they can't find a job. Like, there's this imaginary right-wing fantasy of a past in which white suburban families are all great. And everything's fine. And the minorities stop being so uppity or whatever ridiculous thing they're trying to say about Black Lives Matter. Like, no, guys. The realities of the United States as a political entity are that we've had problems basically since the beginning, because all societies do. Stop trying to imagine an America that was this perfect, like, ultimate America form that we've, like, degenerated from, because that's a fantasy and that's not how you solve issues. Anyway.
I'm gonna believe it as white.
We'll see if we can talk to some of your friends.
Yes, I know MAGA is also a thing Reagan said.
Time that I held up a campaign sign.
Yeah, which election was that?
That
Oh, wait,
was
can I
for-
guess? Was
Okay.
it for Clinton?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the Muslim ban too.
Big brain. Let's go.
By my age, so you're thinking back. Yes, it was for Clinton.
Andrew Dickerson, I think it's because people who grew up in the 70s and 80s were exposed to a lot of shows, movies glamorizing the 50s, like Happy Days and Grease. Right, but the same thing, like in my lifetime, like the 80s have been glamorized in a lot of things. Look at like Stranger Things, but there are other examples of like glamorizing the 80s or even the 90s. We're getting some of that now, and it's like that doesn't make me think those times were awesome. It just makes me go, oh, people are nostalgic for the time when they were a kid, right? And that makes sense. I understand, because a lot of people when they're kids, they're not familiar with the actual real-world struggles of the world, so it feels like a better, more peaceful time. But that's an illusion. That's just a bias that you have because you were a child unaware of the problems at the time. It didn't mean those problems doesn't exist. You have to be an absolute idiot to honestly think that, like, being, like, sentimental about things from the past somehow makes it an actually more peaceful time.
To your kids, very epic.
Oh, no, boys. See you, man.
They're like, you're gay. I did stuff with your mom. Pee. And it's just like, you know, kind of cringe.
John, you literally spent like the first 3 minutes of this video making fun of a kid and saying that you thought his looks said something about him as a person. So, good cell phone, I guess.
They probably all watch porn. Probably all...
True, especially that old lady. She's into some stuff.
Some closet furries. We're going to pray for them. And we're going to make America great again. We're going MAGA mode. The police were all having it. It's MAGA season. Let's go. Greetings.
My goodness. It would be... I would be real happy if Joe Biden wins in November. Not necessarily because I like him as a person. Again, I think he's the better of two positions that I'm not overly fond of, although the alternative is what I consider to be an actual fascist. But mostly I'll be excited for the meltdown that people like John Doyle and Sargon will have. It'll be fun.